What's up, everybody? So March is the month built around one obvious release. It's kind of like a crossroads month. We got a few new films coming in quietly. We got others finally becoming easy to see. We got some other titles kind of creeping back up to the surface in ways that might make them feel worth revisiting. This isn't a list of the best movies out right now. What it is a snapshot of what's available, what's new, and, based on my opinion, what might be worth your time if you're paying attention. So, I'm CJ from DFPN. This is worth watching, March 2026. So, first up, Scream 7, February 27th, 2026. So, it's already right now. And it arrives at a moment when self awareness isn't really a twist anymore. It's kind of a baseline. The franchise has always been about horror responding to itself, but it's operating in a landscape now where commentary is really just kind of expected, not disruptive. I mean, me being here proves that. That makes this entry less about reinvention and more about testing how much that feedback loop can really carry an audience. Even if you're not invested in a series, it might be worth noting that as a snapshot of where mainstream horror currently sits, Scream's probably a good place to go in. Now, The Bride is hitting theaters on March 6th, and this is a gothic reimagining of Frankenstein's mythology that leans a little bit more into mood and character than it does spectacle. Rather than pushing for scares, the bride seems really interested in kind of looking at the repression of expectation and identity, but using familiar material in a quieter and a little bit more restrained way. It's likely to split audiences, but that for me is what makes it worth watching. So definitely check this one out. Then we got Forbidden Fruits hitting theaters in late March this year. Forbidden Fruits kind of sits on the lighter end of the month. It's kind of a blending of cult dynamics with a little bit of dark comedy. It's notable less for its shock value and more for how it uses its humor to explore topics that I'm really interested in, like belief and group behavior and moral shortcuts. Horror comedy can be a tricky balance, but this one's worth a look to see how it handles that kind of tension. Can it be funny and genuinely scary? I mean, I hope so. And then we got They Will Kill You coming out March 27th. This one's a smaller, contained thriller. It kind of closes out the month. Leans very heavily on atmosphere and uncertainty rather than scale or scope. And if you tend to prefer quieter releases that look to build tension through closer, tighter restraint than through big spectacle, this is the kind of late month film that really should be on your radar. Now, we got a few things coming new to streaming in March 26th that are pretty impressive and pretty spectacular. Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man, for example, is hitting Netflix on March 20th. Obviously, this isn't a horror release, but it is an important one. This feature length continuation of the Peaky Blinders series kind of carries over the same concerns that were covered under the series, right? Power, legacy, institutional violence, while, further kind of blurring that line between prestige television and theatrical cinema. If you followed the show, this is an easy point to dive back in. Now, also on Max, we have Final Destination. Select entries from the franchise, possibly not all of them, but several of those films are available on Max this month, and in my opinion, they're definitely worth revisiting with fresh eyes. The movies themselves aren't really about death, they're about a pattern and inevitability and failed intervention and defying fate. Even watching a single entry can be more revealing than you might expect. Some are better than others, but overall, the franchise is just fun, so check it out. Now, as I said at the start, March isn't really about chasing that loudest release. It's about noticing what's newly accessible, what's creeping in kind of quiet and under the radar, and what's worth catching before it gets buried by the next wave of movies, which is constantly coming. It's exhausting even as a movie fan. Sometimes the most interesting viewing isn't even announced; it just kind of becomes available. But again, I'm CJ from the DFPN. This has been worth watching, and let us know how we did. Leave me a comment. Let me know, were your heights withered enough last month, or did we? I was trying to make a Bridgerton pun, but it's not going to work. It's just, yeah, we'll just have to split the difference there. But thanks. Check it out. Check out all the other shows we got, and cheers. Go see a movie.